morning. Welcome to our Impact 102.1 FM. My name is Arugundade Temitope. Happy new month to everyone listening to me. Welcome to the month of May. And also welcome to your daily newspaper review. Today is Friday, 1st of May, 2026. And today we'll be taking a close look at the front pages of the Vanguard newspaper, the Punch newspaper, the Daily Trust newspaper, and the Guardian newspaper, where major political, economic, and social developments are shaping the national conversation. We'll be starting off with the Daily Trust newspaper. Major headline on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says, Supreme Court clears path for ADC. This is a major story for ADC. Supreme Court clears path for ADC. And you can read some of the story on the front page of the paper and continue reading on pages 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. There's a pictorial representation of members of the ADC celebrating this verdict. Now, moving on to another story, we have Workers' Day. How much work is being done? And happy Workers' Day to every worker listening to me right now. Workers' Day, how much work is being done? And that story you can read on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Moving on to another story, we have PDP. Board assures leadership after Supreme Court ruling. PDP board assures leadership after Supreme Court ruling, and that is on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Moving on to another story, we have 2027. Remi Tinubu visits Kano, Borno, Kaduna in 1 week. Remi Tinubu visits Kano, Borno, Kaduna in 1 week, and that is on page 32 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beside that, we have siblings buried alive as excavation sites collapses in Sokoto. This is a very sad story. Siblings buried alive as excavation site collapses in Sokoto, and that is on page 26 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Right beneath the nameplate, we have 150 persons died in Kwara camp, and this is coming from Amnesty International. 150 persons died in Kwara camp, Amnesty International says, and that is on page 27 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beside that, we have Gbenga Ashimi asked Tinubu INEC to respect Electoral Act, allow primaries to hold in September. Gbenga Ashimi asked Tinubu INEC to respect Electoral Act, allow primaries to hold in September. And that's all we'll be taking this morning on the Daily Trust newspaper. Moving on to the Guardian newspaper this morning, major headline of the Guardian newspaper says, clarity, uncertainty as Supreme Court reshapes opposition ahead of the 2027 general election. Clarity or certainty as Supreme Court reshapes opposition ahead of 2027. This is a major story. Clarity, uncertainty, and this headline it captures the clarity from legal decision and uncertainty in political consequences. And what is happening right now is that the Supreme Court ruling are defining legitimate party leadership, but they are also fragmenting opposition strength. And takeaways for this for the citizens is that the opposition is now entering 2027 legally clarified but politically weakened. And that story you can read on page 6 on the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to another story, we have Sanu Naso embark on indefinite strike today. Sanu Naso embark on indefinite strike today, and that story you can get on news page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Starting May with strike, it's not something that we want to like. It's not a good news. We have unresolved disagreements with government, likely, and most of the disagreement that Sanu Naso has with the government is wages, funding, and welfare. They are rejecting the 30% increase in salary, and now we are seeing investors getting shut down and students bearing long-term consequences. And one thing about this is that frequent strike continues to highlight systemic issues in tertiary education funding and management. But that story you can read on news page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that, we have Boko Haram threatens to execute 416 captives. This is a very sad story. Boko Haram threatens to execute 416 captives, and this is a very disturbing story on the front pages, and it signals ongoing insecurity despite military action. Humanitarian crisis remains very severe in the country, and we keep seeing pressure on the government to act swiftly, but we're not seeing anything. We keep getting stories like this on the front pages. Renewed concerns about the national security strategy, it keeps coming up, and that story you can read on news page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to another story, we have worsening cost of living crisis overshadows May Day despite wage increase, and this is coming from the NLC. Worsening cost of living crisis overshadow May Day despite wage increase, and we are seeing wage increase is not matching the inflation. Basic necessities, these are food, transport, housing, remain unaffordable for many. Inflation is acting, it keeps going up. It keeps going up. Inflation is acting like a silent tax. It reduces the real value of income faster than wages can even adjust. And we need to understand that until inflation is controlled, wage increases will continue to feel meaningless. You can get that story on news page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And moving on to another story, we have Niger local government record 2 police cases as Castina decries gaps in vaccination. Niger local government records 2 polio cases at Castina decries gap in vaccination. This is a very serious public health concern. Nigeria has made progress in eradicating polio, like we all know, so any new case like this is quite alarming. You're seeing gaps in routine immunization coverage, possible issues with healthcare access or vaccine existency, and major risk is that there are potential resurgency of preventable diseases, increased burden on already strained healthcare system, because our healthcare system is actually nothing to write home about. And that story you can read on news page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that, we have federal government resolves MM2 concession dispute, approves aircraft leasing firm. Federal government resolves MM2 concession dispute, approves aircraft leasing firm, and this is a very positive development in the aviation sector. We're seeing resolving disputes improves the investor confidence. Aircraft leasing reduces dependency on foreign leasing companies, and some will ask that, okay, why does this matter? It could lower operational costs for airlines, and it may improve efficiency and competitiveness in Nigeria's aviation sector. And moving on, right above the nameplate, we have INEC affirms, right beneath the nameplate, INEC affirms exclusive right to declare poll result as CSOs deploys takeover. INEC affirms exclusive right to declare poll results as CSO deploys tracker, and that story is on news page 3. Same on news page 3, we have FEC approves $2.9 billion road project for Lagos, Kano, Kaduna. FEC approves $2.9 billion road project for Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, and that is on news page 3, like I said. Same on news page 3, we have Respect Electoral Act, shift primaries to September, Ashimi tells Tinubu. INEC. Respect Electoral Act, shift primaries to September, Ashimi tells Tinubu. INEC. And the last story we're taking this morning on the front page of the Guardian newspaper says federal government begins 18-month database modernization ahead of consensus. Federal government begins 18-month database modernization ahead of consensus. And that's all we're taking this morning on the Guardian newspaper. before we move on to the remaining two papers for this morning, we'll be going on a quick break. And when we are back, we'll analyze the remaining papers and we have the phone lines open for you to call us in, give your comments. You can drop a message for us on WhatsApp or SMS us, and you can also call us in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're still listening to impact 102.1 FM.
I know, and I love you too. This is why I've made it so that you can now have me everywhere you go. www.highimpactstudios.com. Press play. Links in our social media bio. Click at High Impact 1021 FM. Or you can just go the regular way. Turn on your radio and tune in to 102.1 FM.
We love you at High Impact Radio. Mwah!
See, there is no separating us now.
Hey, High Impact.
Hi, how may I help you?
I want to reduce my weight. I feel I'm getting too big. What can I eat? Cause I like food a lot.
Everyone likes food, but you can start by eating brown rice as it contains less amount of carbohydrates.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What do you know about the multiverse?
This season, we're diving into the multiverse of May.
Because our awesomeness is going to be contained in one space.
So whatever alternate universe, reality, or dimension that exists, you can bet your last dime we are gonna be there, doing what we know how to do best, taking premium quality radio and serving it up to you. We know that you're at different stages in your life right now, facing different realities in life's journey. But we want you to know that we're with you each and every step of the way as you achieve your goals. So,
can you be strong? Disciplined. No matter how many times you get hit, can you get back up?
High Impact 1021 FM charges you to take courage as you embrace May magic. Stay with us and we won't let you down.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
We are the best. Others can rest. High Impact Radio. Thank you. Next.
Welcome back. You're still listening to High Impact 102.1 FM, and we are currently reviewing the newspaper. We've gone through the Guardian newspaper and the Daily Trust newspaper. Now we'll be moving to the Punch newspaper. And before we do that, the phone lines are open for everyone to call us in, text us via WhatsApp or SMS 090-7224-5018. I'll take that again, 090-7224-5018. And my name is Temitope Aragundade. Major headline on the Punch newspaper this morning says Mark-led ADC survives as Supreme Court void Ibadan PDP convention. Mark-led ADC survives as Supreme Court voids Ibadan PDP convention. And we have one rider to that story. PDP thrown into fresh uncertainty as camps clash over verdict. The second rider says ADC celebrates Lifeline, renews pressure to remove INEC boss. And that story you can get on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Right beside the nameplate, we have Mayday, NLC, TUC lament rising insecurity, poverty. Mayday, NLC, TUC lament rising insecurity, poverty. And that story is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And the last story we're taking this morning on the front page of the Punch newspaper says airline struggle as losses eat 150 billion naira in 2 months. And this is a very hard story for our economy. Airline struggle as losses eat 150 billion naira in 2 months, and that is on page 27. And that's what we're taking this morning on the Punch newspaper. Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard is quite packed this morning. Major headline on the Vanguard says, Supreme Court okays ADC's mark, aces PDP's Turaki, and we have quite a number of riders to this story. Vacant order against Mark-led ADC return case to High Court. Vacate order against Mark-led ADC returns case to High Court. The second rider says INEC recognizes Mark-led ADC leadership. Another rider says void PDP's Ibadan convention that produced Turaki. Another rider says we'll study judgment on ADC and act, and this is coming from INEC. Ruling leaves PDP without clear leadership. Turaki group. Another writer says no more factions in PDP, and this is coming from Wike. Moving on to another writer, we have ADC will appeal ruling blocking INEC recognition of congresses, and this is coming from Mark. And the last writer says why INEC should deregister ADC, APP, 3 other parties, and this is coming from AGF as he tells the court. And that story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper, and it is a major political turning point ahead of the 2027 election. And what this means is that the Supreme Court has recognized the leadership of the ADC under Mark, effectively settling internal disputes within the party. And at the same time, the court has invalidated the BDP faction led by Turaki, deepening the crisis within the opposition. This particular story reshapes political alliance and power block ahead of the 2027 general election. It also weakens opposition unity, especially within the PDP, and also strengthens the legal standing of certain factions while leaving others politically stranded. And obviously, we're going to expect realignment, we're going to expect defections and negotiations in the coming week. PDP may face internal restructuring or prolonged faction battles, and of course the ADC could emerge stronger if consolidates this legal victory. And like I said, that story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on to another story, we have Remi Tinubu rolls at 1.2 billion naira 100 trucks of rice for vulnerable northern families. Remi Tinubu rolls out 1.2 billion naira 100 trucks of rice for vulnerable northern families, and that story is on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper. It's an humanitarian and political intervention rolled out in one. The initiative aims to address food insecurity, especially in northern Nigeria, where economic hardship and insecurity have worsened living conditions. And that story, you can get it on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper. Beneath that, we have workers mark May Day in pains as labor decries insecurity, poverty, and inflation. And happy Workers' Day to everyone listening to me. But NLC and TUC is saying workers are marking this day in pains because of insecurity, poverty, and inflation, because we have rising cost of living, persistent insecurity, and weak purchasing power. Even with the wage adjustments, inflation has eroded real income, and this means that workers are earning mere nominal, but actually living worse. That story you can get on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on to another story, Obi to Tinubu, borrowing for consumption is killing cancer. Obi to Tinubu, borrowing for consumption is killer cancer. This is a very strong economic criticism, and this argument is very simple. Borrowing is not the problem, but borrowing for non-productive use is the problem. And that story you can get on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Right above the nameplate, we have LCCI takes federal government on weak budget execution, delay in fund release. LCCI tax Federal government on weak budget execution, delay in fund release, and that is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Lagos 2027, 120 APC leaders sign Amzat's governorship nomination form. Lagos 2027, 120 APC leaders sign Amzat governorship nomination form, and that is on page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper. Beside that, we have Tinubu mandates Gbajabiamila Masari to supervise APC NAS primaries. Tinubu mandates Gbajabiamila Masari to supervise APC NAS primaries, and that is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And that's all we'll be taking this morning on the Vanguard newspaper. And that's all we'll be taking this morning on the newspaper review. And there's this big question that we need to ask. With this political and economic development, is it going to translate into real improvement in people's lives? Because that's one major thing that people are actually looking forward to. This political news, this economic issues, this development, is it actually going to improve our lives? Is it going to help us? Is it going to reduce the inflation? Is it going to make the streets safer? Insecurity issues are going to disappear? We're going to get better development in the country. But that's all we can take, like I said, for this week newspaper review. Stay with us for more updates and analysis throughout the day. And like I said, I have to go right now on the newspaper review, but don't go anywhere, because by 8 o'clock we'll be having the Money Madness show, and I'm sure you don't want to miss any part of it, because it's a wonderful show. You get to learn things from Dr. Successful Somi, and you get to also call in, get how to make money, because that's what the show is all about. You learn how to make money, and you can also learn how to defend yourself with legal knowledge, because today is Friday, and like we know, it's going to be a wonderful show, by the way. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, but this is where I say goodbye on the newspaper review for today, Friday, 1st of May, 2026. And happy new month to everyone listening to me.
Hello there. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Start your day with Impact as we give you positive affirmation.